conscience to scratching your mind, and he's returned, pressing harder than before. Vandalize your brain, spray paint in horror. And there's a feeling somewhere that won't become anything physical. And there's a feeling somewhere that won't blossom into anything at all. Now here's the sun, is nested in my mind. If I turn to it, serotonin will go blind. And my old cure doesn't work on this disease. So you propose a new kind of release. And there's a feeling somewhere that won't become anything physical. And there's a feeling somewhere that won't blossom into and they are pure, they are sweet, ice cream bleeding. Oh, your softest work of art you created violently. I lost touch with a friend because I'm lazy. I still love her, but I know that she hates me. And I deserve it, 'cause I don't care. I wish I did, but I don't care. I've got a girl, she is pure, and she's good to me. She's as soft as a watercolor painting. But I am scared I will tear her apart. Honey, I'm selfish, I will tear you apart. If I'm sleepy, I won't be brushing my teeth. No, I'm not afraid of gums that bleed. And maybe that's stupid, I mean moments may not exist. But you remind me the time still passes. And I don't want to use up my women till they're empty, but I still leave room for more love in my bed sheets. Well, I just want all the love I can get. I got my hands on something pure and I fucked it. Will you still love me when I sail and discover that the wombs of other women all fail to comfort me the way that you did? Please don't let me hurt you. Hold me back from the ocean. Always loved your cellular singing, out of tune and out of minutes. But my line's tied up 'cause I've been busy making calls into the city where the songs move so much faster, pressing their opinions. Will you comfort me after I breathe industrial air? Become the boy you loved only because I loved you too. I'm the static screen you can't give up. I'm the only thing on to entertain you.
All right. We're live.
And what are we?
Live?
Well, no, like, we're supposed to do that announcement thing because we're streaming.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is a podcast. I'm Curtis. That's Boyd. We're called Clinically Inane.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. We got it. I'm trying so hard not to cough directly into the microphone.
So thinking of internet, I have an article for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna work my way through the headline.
Yep.
Well, my variation of the headline because it just gets better as you go along.
Okay.
So a group of ISPs are suing the state of Maine
Okay.
because they feel it is that requiring you to get your permission to sell your third-party data
Okay.
is an undue, difficulty on their First Amendment rights.
So, okay, say that again. Slow it down for me.
A group of ISPs in Maine.
Okay.
We got that far.
Yep. So we're talking are we talking like Comcast or CenturyLink, or are we talking smaller stuff like Wave or whatever?
A collection of them.
Okay.
It's a ISP association.
So it's going to be large and small.
Yes.
in the state of Maine.
Yes, are suing, claiming the new law that requires them to get your permission to sell your data
Okay.
is an undue burden
Okay.
on their First Amendment rights.
And they have those First Amendment rights.
That's part of the question in this lawsuit.
They do. Literally. They legally do right now
Yeah.
because of Citizens United.
Actually, do you know who one of the main first people to argue that ISPs have First Amendment rights is?
Ajit Pai?
No.
Oh.
Um,
That's a good guess.
that is, but it's actually not far off either. What's his face? Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fucking tool.
He had a 50-50 chance on which tool it was.
I know, right? Here's the thing. Legally, under our current legal structure in the United States of America, as it stands, the group of ISPs do have First Amendment rights. Whether or not requiring them to say that they're going to sell your data
Violates their First Amendment rights.
that's the question.
Yeah.
The question is not that they have them. The question is, does it actually violate them? Do they have them? Yes, absolutely, because that's what Citizens United did.
Uh-huh.
I
I mean, this all goes back to the earlier question.
But does it actually violate First Amendment rights to be required to disclose when you're selling your users' data?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
And do the users have a First Amendment right to the data?
I believe that the user should have a First Amendment right to the data because it's theirs originally.
I also believe that corporations shouldn't have a First Amendment right, but
yeah. Yes, that is abundantly
Agreed.
clear. Yeah, agreed upon. Do they have? But in our current, that's why I keep saying in our current structure they do, which sucks.
I mean, I originally got on this article because one of the original headlines was incorrect.
What was the original headline?
One of the original headlines I found was that they were suing, claiming that not being allowed to sell your data was a violation of your First Amendment rights.
See, that's what I thought you'd said at first. And
That's what the first articles I found
yeah.
said. I found later ones that clarified it's their First Amendment rights.
Yeah, no. Having to say that they're going to sell our data is definitely not a violation of our First Amendment rights. No, there's that's a.
Well, no, they were actually the original article was arguing that I think it was along the lines that any claim of there was a violation of your First Amendment right to limit them to sell your data.
No.
But no, the later ones clarified it's their First Amendment rights to sell your data.
I mean, here's the thing, is that do First Amendment rights apply to business transactions?
That's a good question.
And that's one that is regularly discussed in the United States of America.
Mhm.
And so far, it has come down to, like, you got, because it's also in the same court as you know, right to refusal of service kind of thing.
Yep.
It's a question of do First Amendment rights apply to business and to business transactions? And I don't think it does.
And that'll become a court question then.
Yeah, that's because it was the, like, you know, I always think about like the wedding cakes for your gay couples.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a number of court rulings that have, because it's gone to court in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And there's been a number of court rulings that have basically said, you do not have the right to refuse service to them. You have the right to your personal opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the business transaction, it does not carry over.
Well, I think some of the cake rulings have been, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right to refuse service. You have the right to say what they can and can't put on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so you can't refuse making a wedding cake. You refuse to make a cake that says "I'm gay for you."
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You could also interpret that as, do they have to be able to have to disclose that they're selling your data?
Yeah.
I think the answer to that is yes.
Well, and if they do, it's going to be That stack of paperwork you get when you first sign with the ISP.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be in the terms and conditions that
Section 3, paragraph 4.
yeah, subsection 14,
Yeah.
subheading double X.
It'll intentionally be on a page you don't have to initial, or it'll be in a packet you don't have to initial.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Maybe the first page.
No, it's the terms and conditions that everyone says they read, but they don't.
Does everyone say they read it?
You have to in order to sign up for things.
Actually, I've seen a lot of them nowadays don't say I've read. They say I acknowledge.
Yeah, that's true. Some of them make you like scroll all the way through it, kind of thing.
I've also seen ones make you scroll through, but they would also have a scroll to bottom button.
Yeah, yeah, because they have people who are just like, yes, I know, I get it, okay.
To live in a post-privacy society.
I mean, yeah, we do live in a post-privacy
Yeah.
society, and
That's why I've just accepted the camera outside my bedroom.
there's not a camera outside your bedroom. That's not supposed to be there, boy. But no, it's the I and a lot of it comes down to, you know, basic morality, which we know a lot of businesses and
I realize I think there's
Republicans don't have.
I realize I think there's a lot of people who, at a certain level, they feel that the business actions does not reflect on their personal morality.
Yeah, no, that's
so
not.
carrying immoral actions to the business does not reflect upon their personal morality and salvation.
Yeah, literally no philosopher of any kind would ever agree with that. Even utilitarian philosophers.
Does Ayn Rand count as a philosopher?
No, Ayn Rand is a fucking hack. She was never a philosopher.
So
Ayn Rand is a fiction writer.
So there was an actual person in history around the time Ayn Rand was starting to write, who Ayn Rand actually reflected her idealized man.
Yeah.
He was in Northern California. I can't remember his name, but he was in Northern California. The reason he made headlines is he kidnapped a rich teenage girl,
Okay.
demanded ransom for her,
Yeah.
went to collect the ransom, and upon collecting the ransom, dumped the body out of the car in front of her father.
Holy shit.
Like he sewed her eyes open so she looked like she was alive in the car. That was Ayn Rand's idealization of the perfect man. It was that will to power.
That's fucked up,
Yeah.
dude. Oh, man, that actually makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
A little bit.
That's what
Oh.
Ayn Rand was idealizing in
And
Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged. Jesus Christ. That's
And-
fucked up.
Yeah.
That's like not okay on so many levels.
Yeah. Like the guy made headlines because he was on death row.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's important to remember that Zack Snyder really wants us to accept Ayn Rand and her teachings
Now, do I just
through all of his DC movies.
do I just have to accept Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged? Do I have to accept Atlas Shrugged 2 and 3, the movies also?
Yeah, which I believe Snyder had a hand in as well. He had a hand in one. No, it was Fountainhead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never read Ayn Rand. I've never felt much need to.
I read a little bit and I was like, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. I honestly think a lot of classic literature is terrible though. So
I mean, there's a certain point where I think what we consider like early classic literature, the only reason it's classic is because it's what happened to survive.
yeah. Well, you know, and there's like, okay, we'll let's just put a pin in the whole Ayn Rand conversation and morality and all that shit. Selling your data is morally not companies wanting to sell your data is morally wrong.
It's beyond that. It's companies want to sell your data without your permission
Yeah, without permission is morally wrong.
and with whatever data they want.
Yes. Ayn Rand's teachings are morally corrupt and fucked up.
Yep.
And also, Ayn Rand is not a philosopher. She's a fucking fiction writer, much like L. Ron Hubbard was not a prophet. He is a sci-fi fiction writer.
He is a prophet with an eye.
Yeah. Like, all of that shit is horse shit. Zack Snyder is a joke of a filmmaker. There, I said it.
Yeah.
There is no Snyder cut. Get over it.
I mean,
But we're just gonna dump all that shit to the side to talk about how terrible a lot of classic literature actually is.
Yeah.
Like Catcher in the Rye is more of a modern classic, but it is fucking awful, and I do not understand why people fetishize it so much. If you read it when you're 14, 15 years old, you might identify with it. I read it at 17 and thought that the main character was a garbage person, and I was just annoyed the entire book.
People fetishize Romeo and Juliet.
People also fetishize. They don't take away the teachings from it of like, hey,
Romance is bad.
romance is bad, or like unchecked romance can lead to dangerous things, or unchecked, I guess, feelings. I guess
'Cause
is the best way to put
Romeo and Juliet was written in a time when pretty much, for the most part, you married based on your parents' permission,
it. Yep.
which usually had to do with families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, people also don't remember that Romeo and Juliet is full of dick jokes. 'Cause-
Shakespeare's full of dick jokes.
Yeah, it's true. But Romeo and Juliet has a lot of them.
Yeah, anything that involves any Shakespeare that involves swords has a lot of dick jokes.
That's true. But Romeo and Juliet, here's the thing. Romeo and Juliet is ostensibly good. People just take the wrong message from it.
Yeah,
Catcher in the Rye is a bad book,
and people take the wrong message.
and people take the wrong message from it. And people look at like Holden Caulfield. I feel like it's the Catcher in the Rye is the book version of like the Fight Club movie or the Joker movie, where it's supposed to have a warning, but the way that it is executed,
people miss it.
people miss it and take the wrong message from it, which they did with Fight Club and they did with Joker.
I mean, looking back on Fight Club,
it's a great movie.
it did influence one thing I really want in life.
An imaginary friend.
Oh, I have had many of those.
Oh,
Most of them won't stick around.
a condemned house that you can do anything in.
Yes,
Yeah, there it is.
that's pretty much it. Maybe a soap company.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of warnings in Fight Club that are just not in the movie. The movie is still very well made.
It is.
People do not take the right message from it. I mean, I figured out that like, oh, everything that he's teaching is bad.
It's interesting to look at because on both sides, where he's coming from and where he's going,
Yeah.
are not good places.
No, they're not. And
he literally goes from one extreme to the other extreme.
yeah, and the message. And if you read the books, that's the message of like, all of this is bad. Yeah. And in the like Chuck Palahniuk can bring that across in the book,
Yeah,
but yeah,
far more clearly.
yeah, and it doesn't come across in the movie. But like there are people who watch Fight Club, people who watch Joker, who watch these movies with angry white men in the lead, and there's supposed to be a warning to it of like,
This is
both of them actually have a similar warning of, hey, extreme mental health issues can lead to bad things happening.
yes.
The thing is that it doesn't end up with any of the characters being like better. Yeah. In fact, well, you could argue that the narrator is better at the end of Fight Club, but he more has just accepted his fate
Yeah. I mean,
because Tyler does get killed.
yeah, until you get into the comics, and
Yeah.
that's a whole other level.
Yeah. But there's but like Catcher in the Rye, people don't look at Holden Caulfield and be like, oh, this kid's a little prick.
I mean,
And he's supposed to be a little prick, and you're supposed to not like him. It doesn't come across that way in the book. Or it comes across as him being like a hero in the book.
yeah,
And a lot of people are like, oh my God, like Holden Caulfield's just so like misunderstood. And like, I had that conversation so many times, and it's just like, no, this is bad. This is bad.
he's a lousy person.
He's a shitty person. I hated him from the second I met him. And I hated this entire book.
See,
I literally wrote an essay for AP Lit about how I hated the
it's been
book.
half a lifetime since I've read that book, so it kind of filters away.
Yeah, that's fair. Say it's been
Most-
almost near 15 years, and I still hate it.
Most all of my Catcher in the Rye knowledge has just been replaced with Star Wars novels.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. On Fight Club, though, I mean, when you get down to it, the narrator needed Tyler like I needed a hole in the head. Thank you. We're done with that topic.
Okay. But like there are other like classic literature books that I hated when I was in high school because I had to read them.
Yeah.
And then I reread them and was like, oh no, this is actually dope. Like Frankenstein. Like I hated Frankenstein when I had to read it in high school because I had to read it.
That's fair.
And we had like a chapter by chapter like worksheet that we had to do along with it that was just tedious and like very, very just difficult to actually get through. And it wasn't that it was difficult from like to actually do the work. It was difficult in that there was just so much work associated with each chapter. It was like each chapter. And if you've read Frankenstein, it's not a long book.
No.
But like
It was originally a serial.
it was a serial. Yeah. There was, if you read it, but for each chapter we had like 10 questions, and like they had paragraph responses to them. So like by the time you were done with the book, your write up on it was as long as the book, you know. And it was
Please
just
write 2 sentences about sentence number 3.
yeah, it was kind of that shit, you know. And so I hated it. And then I read it again after high school. I would say I was like 25, 26.
Yeah.
And it took me, you know, a couple nights of like leisurely reading.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It's a really good story.
I mean, part of what's fascinating about Frankenstein is it was groundbreaking. It actually had people writing into editors about how offensive it was.
Mm-hmm.
People were literally like, this was the scariest shit out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's not scary.
But it was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, no one had really, this is one of your earliest sci-fi pieces. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly Frankenstein, upon rereading, as at an older age where I'm not having to read it in general,
yeah.
where I don't have to read in general, and I don't have to write a fucking essay for every sentence that Mary Shelley wrote.
When you don't have to write an essay longer than Mary Shelley wrote a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it became a lot more enjoyable, and because I was just reading the book. Dracula was one of those too. I didn't like Dracula when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And then I reread it as an adult, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing gothic romance.
I'll still argue that Huck Finn is not one of Mark Twain's better pieces.
No, it's not. I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I thought Tom Sawyer was better.
Yeah. I still think there's like Yankee and King Arthur's Court.
Oh yeah.
Much better than either of those.
Yeah, it's true. But like out of the two that are most popular,
Yeah.
I like Tom Sawyer better than Huck Finn, personally.
Yep.
When Huck was a side character.
Mm-hmm.
But
They're in the same universe.
whoa. But they but you know, some of the ones that, you know what it is I just might not like modern classics because I hated The Great Gatsby too.
I mean,
I hated The Great Gatsby, and I tried to reread it. After I'd reread Frankenstein, it was like, you know what? I'll give Gatsby another try. And I tried to reread Gatsby, and I was like, this is awful. I hate this.
One of the few I really liked I had to read in high school that I actually liked was Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, yeah. Fahrenheit 451 was really good.
Yep.
I didn't like 1984. I understand why it's good, but I don't like reading it.
Yeah.
Because it is not a book that's made to be easy to read, intentionally so.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know. Have you read 1984?
I don't know if I actually have.
There's no paragraph breaks or anything.
I read
it's just straight.
For classic sci-fi, I read a lot more Asimov.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care for 1984. I liked Animal Farm. I thought Animal Farm was really good.
I think a lot of people missed the message on that one.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, we read it while studying the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
like it was in conjunction with.
Mm-hmm.
We had an English class and a history class that were intertwined. So there were two different teachers, but like we had one they worked their curriculum together so that we would be
Because it was you basically that's interesting.
so that we would study if we were studying when we were studying Animal Farm in our English class, we were studying
Russian.
the rise and fall of the Soviet Union in
Yeah.
history, and so it was like that one was very clear. Like, hey, this is the parallels for the rise of the Soviet Union. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I get this. Yeah, I get it. No, I don't like a lot of classic poetry with very few exceptions.
I like Frost and Keys are two of my favorite.
I'm thinking like old.
Like classic.
Like I did not like Canterbury Tales.
Okay.
I did not like.
I feel like Canterbury Tales is probably one of those ones that may have lost something in the translation.
Yeah, a little bit probably. I feel like it did because it was very non sequitur.
Yeah.
Constantly, like it lost a lot.
When they updated the English, it probably.
Yeah, I did not like.
weakened it.
I did not like Paradise Lost.
I've actually read Paradise Lost.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
Paradise Lost is also the one that I got accused of plagiarism. I've told you this story where my buddy and I had been discussing it on the phone the night that we were writing our papers, and our papers were so similar because we had come to similar conclusions that it seemed like we'd copied each other's papers when in fact we had just had a conversation on the phone.
I got accused of plagiarism in middle school because when I write far more formally than I speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I was trained.
Yeah.
And because of one of my, I think it was actually a science teacher, thought I had plagiarized
Because there's no way that
because my voice is entirely different when I.
Because there's no way your dumb voice could sound that smart on paper.
I mean, I was very intelligent in class, but
No, you're a dumb voice and sound smart on paper.
Yeah, basically, like it, especially when you get me into technical term stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very different voice.
Well,
than
also,
I speak.
yeah. Well, also, usually you can't say the technical words, but you can write them.
Yeah. I also grew up reading a lot more than I grew talking to people, I think.
Yeah. I didn't know you pronounced subtle as I thought subtle was subtle for the longest time.
Some reason I knew that one. I don't remember why, but
it was just one of those ones. But did you ever
still trouble with that British, or it's not even British. I think it's Southern sauce. It starts with a W.
what? Worcestershire?
I still can't say that one right. It's like a train wreck of letters in my brain.
There was a guy.
It's like most people trying to pronounce German.
There was a kid I went to high school with whose last name was spelt like Worcestershire,
Yeah.
and it was Worcester.
Worcester.
But
Actually, now I'm starting to wonder. Here's an older thing. There might have been a point in history when it was just Worcester sauce.
possibly,
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing. It might be. Well, it's like, when you meet somebody who has the last name Wynn, it's NGU. It's NGUYEN,
Yeah.
but it's Wynn.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Valbjorn.
Or Siobhan. SIOBHAN.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the I with the.
Two very different linguistic backgrounds on that too.
Yeah, Wynn is
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. Yeah, and Siobhan is Irish.
Yeah. Celtic. Yeah.
Celtic. Yeah, in nature.
Celtic versus the Celtics.
We've been through this. But no, I liked some classic. I love Beowulf.
Yeah, Beowulf's good.
I particularly the Seamus Heaney translation. I really, really like that one. I love Walt Whitman.
There's a number of Shakespeare sonnets.
Yeah, don't care for?
No, I do
like that you love.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd love them, but I like them.
I love Walt Whitman. Leaves of Grass is like you can part it out or you can read the whole thing, and it's good no matter throughout.
Thoreau.
Yeah, Thoreau.
Which I recently had an interesting thing online point out to me about Thoreau. So his time at Walden's Pond.
Yeah.
his mother owned the property of Oswald's Pond
Yes.
and brought him food. Like, there's a fair amount of privilege with him being able to just sit out there and write. But
Yeah. No, yeah, totally. I mean,
still produced very interesting poetry.
absolutely. It's just like, it's interesting when you think about what's considered to be like a classic and like high literature, and like what books are coming out, because we have far more access to books now.
Yeah. And diversity.
And diversity in books. Like, what would you consider to be like a classic by today's standards? I mean, you start to get, there are some things that are like the authors are very much still alive and producing, like Stephen King books. Like you could honestly probably say a number of Stephen King books are classics. The Stand, The Shining, The Dark Tower, Cujo, like a number of Stephen King, they're horror classics.
Yeah.
The Dark Tower being more into sci-fi. Like Tolkien be more of a modern classic, kind of thing. But those are starting to get older too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other authors currently producing with class. I mean, I think especially when you get into very modern stuff, with the definition of classic becomes very personal.
Yeah.
I also realize there's so much. There's a lot of the modern classics I don't read.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's just and it's an interesting thing to think about, because a lot of the books that survived may not have been the best book that was out at the time.
No.
But they're what survived.
Yeah. And the older you get, the more that's true.
Yeah. But, well, and here's the thing, is that with our ability today to digitize and be able to maintain, like, obviously there are some things that are fucking lost to the wastes of whatever. Like, there are bands from the early 2000s that put out albums that I loved that never got turned digital.
Yeah.
And they're fucking just gone now. Like, bands that you'd never, like, they were pre-iTunes. They put out a CD.
And that CD's gone.
And that CD had 10,000 copies made, and then they're gone. Who knows what happened to them?
I definitely had. I mean,
there are books like that too. So, but I would say safely that we get 98-99% of books that are released in some format, and that modern book writing doesn't produce what is considered to be classics in the same fashion that they were previously.
I mean, I think the part of the part that comes back to the term classic, though, is it does have to endure a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, which is why I feel safe saying Stephen King.
Yeah. Like, I think because you want to talk classics, you have to be also finding authors who've been writing for 30, 40, 50 years and are still alive. You're going to talk classics who are still alive.
Yes.
And, I mean, there's authors who have tremendous volumes of work. I don't know. Well, I mean, certain pieces might be considered classic. Dean Koontz.
I don't think he'll be considered classic in the same way Stephen King is.
Most of Dean Koontz's most famous books are because they became movies.
Yeah. Well, you could say the same thing about Clive Cussler books. He just wrote an insane amount of them.
J.A. Jance.
Yeah.
Same idea. A lot of books, not necessarily going to be many classics.
Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy, I would say, is a modern classic writer.
Yeah.
Michael Crichton.
Yep.
To be safe to say. But you get into people who are still alive. Michael Crichton's very dead.
Terry Pratchett.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
I would say is safe to say.
Yeah.
And then you get into niche stuff. I'd say it's safe to say that Robin Hobb is going to maintain classic status.
I also realize that our
Patrick Rothfuss.
Our perspective on this comes very much from white guys into a lot of sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah. Robin Hobb, though.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson, George R.R. Martin. Oh God, why am I spacing? Patrick Rothfuss.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside the fantasy realm, I'd say it's safe to say that like Ta-Nehisi Coates is gonna be considered a classic author for
Yeah.
a long time.
Well, and again, I think probably come down to what sticks around and where. I mean,
Oh God, who wrote what's her name? Who wrote The Handmaid's Tale?
I'm blanking, but I know. Yeah,
I'm gonna look this up because I should fucking know it.
but again, I mean, coming back to the idea that not all the best novels, not all what we consider classic novels, what survives necessarily the best. We still have Ayn Rand around.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I started writing it in and remembered Margaret Atwood.
Yeah,
Like, there are a number of I'd say that that author sphere right there
yeah,
is a good chunk of people who would probably be in I mean, Robin Hobb's been around for fucking forever, so
I mean, Asimov's not alive anymore, but
Yeah.
definitely go down as classics.
Well, yeah, Asimov's is classic. H.P. Lovecraft is classic.
Jules Verne.
Jules Verne is classic. Who wrote John Carter?
Oh, yeah. As long as the novel's not the movie on that one,
Yeah. I'm spacing.
I am too. I think that again, if we sat down and actually research this, there's a lot more other stuff we could be going.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, that.
And I would say it's safe to say that
Hell, if we
with-
walk to our bookcases, there'd be a lot more answers. To
yeah,
this.
probably. That on that note, I'd say it's safe to say that with Wanderers, Chuck Wendig is making a bid for
Yeah.
a modern classic.
Yep.
Like his other books are really good. I think Wanderers is the one where he's really making, like, he unintentionally, he just had something to say, but it was like having now, read and finished the fucking 800-page tome that it is. I'd say it's there.
I mean, again, we're kind of I know we're both somewhat limited in our sphere of book reading.
Yeah.
There's other entire genres that we don't touch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and fuck, like my girlfriend, I got her a book of poetry, and she is like, I just grabbed it off the shelf and I'd read like 2 poems, and I was like, this seems like she'd like it.
Yeah.
She's like, and now she's like, I need to find every single poetry book that this person has written.
Yeah.
Because like she'd never heard of them, but like, and they're short, quick poems.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are funny, some of them are sad. Like, and she was just like it, and it looked at look at the publishing date on it's like 2016, and it's like she's like, this is some of my favorite things. She has some other, like, she's super into poetry.
Yeah.
So she has like a couple other poets that are modern poets that, we have no.
I mean, my favorite contemporary poet is Saul Williams.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just draw blank.
Yeah.
Other people love it. So,
I mean, like, you walk over to the poetry section and I'm always just like, Leonard Cohen. I know who that is. Like if
you know the poetry by musicians.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, I just wasn't super into Kid Rock's poetry book.
I thought that was bad. You should have seen the one by Uncle Cracker.
I mean, and there's always been the thing of like musicians are poets too. It's like, yeah, they are, but it's different.
And I mean, that also comes back to where your classes come when you get into filmmaking versus books. And
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the idea of a modern classic is an interesting idea in general. Like, we start getting into movies, and even like some that are a couple years.
Does the Star Wars novelization count as a modern classic?
No, it really doesn't. Novelizations of movies never count as classics. Like, even if they have some sort of interesting reveal in them.
I mean, is there going to be a point where we might have novelizations of movies that are lost?
That's true. I tried to find the novelization of the 1999 Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick, because I did read it.
I might still have a copy.
Or the 2000 movie.
Yeah, I might still have a copy of that.
I definitely read it when
I.
that movie came out. And there was other things in that book that weren't in the movie that I wish would have been in the movie.
I I will argue the book was better than the movie.
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
There's a fair number. I know a number of movies where the novelizations might be better than the movie.
Apparently, The Rise of Skywalker is one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, no, I can't honestly say that. You can't honestly say that a lot of you would be able to recognize classic stuff. I mean, there are a few things that, especially in film, we're starting to get a few years, 10, 15 years removed from we're old. We're old enough now that we can start to actually look back at films that we saw them when we were younger and recognize ones that were
modern classics
that are now could be considered modern classics.
The Lion King.
The Lion King is a perfect example. The Lion King, The Dark Knight is another example.
Benji Come Home.
I'd say it's safe to say The Dark Knight is an example. Even though people take the wrong message from it, Fight Club is probably an example of one.
Land Before Time.
The Land Before Time was before both of us were born.
Yeah.
For the record.
Same with Brave Little Toaster, I think.
Brave Little Toaster.
That might be between us.
I think. But like, we think about like.
I think part of the same power of Land Before Time is that there's 13 dozen sequels.
Yeah, that's kind of what. Yeah. But you if you look at
the original Muppet movie.
The original Muppet movie is a classic.
Yeah.
It holds up. But that's before either of us were born.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well before. It's you gotta. It's interesting to look at the stuff that's come out since we've been like adults.
Green Lantern.
Ugh. That could be considered to be modern classics.
Yeah.
Like as much as we make fun of it, Titanic is a modern classic.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way around it.
Avatar, be interesting to see how that reputation holds up over time.
Oh, I rewatched it when I got Disney Plus.
Avatar has cinematic important. It's more important for what it is as a cinematic technical film
than it is as a
film.
actual movie.
Yeah.
That is correct. Because
I never saw it in theaters though. So
I did. It was very pretty.
My problem was at that point, all of the 3D glasses were a little too small, so
And they would warp. Yeah.
which would make everything offset just slightly enough to give me a headache.
Yeah. They're better now.
They are.
Yeah. Oh God, and why does he think that we need like 4 more 10 years later? Why? Like,
He needs more money to explore the ocean.
well, no, now he's exploring space.
Okay. Did he run out of ocean?
Yeah, maybe.
Got to the bottom, decided he was done.
Yeah. Who knows? But no, it's I think we run into the same problem that with, movies and television that we do with books and music, is there's just so much, and so much of it is aimed at it's a downside of having an extremely capitalist society as well, is that so much of it is aimed at getting your dollar.
Yeah.
Not at actually making something good.
Like, so I've got more and more artists or more authors who I'm following on, like, I'm reading their book on Kindle because it's only coming out digital because they can do that for free.
Yeah.
And it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The modern publishing.
When you're able to self-publish, it becomes a whole other level of some of it really good and some of it absolute shit.
Oh, absolutely.
We read a short story years ago on this podcast that came out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to. Yeah.
Which was amazing and horrible.
Yeah, it was. But
I know for a fact we lost at least some listeners over it.
I know we did. Yes, we did.
Never been prouder.
Yeah. But with modern movies and television, there's so much of it is aimed at getting your dollar.
Yep.
Versus making the thing that they want to make. And a lot of the times, especially with movies, you will sacrifice some of the thing that you want to make so that you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the soul of it so that you can make it.
Yeah.
And they'll, people who've made indie films and then go to Hollywood have talked about that a number of times.
You also get people who've gone to Hollywood then made indie films.
Yeah, it's true. But
Like
there are certain shows that became part of the cultural zeitgeist that will stand the test of time in our modern era.
yeah.
I think it is safe to say that even though it lulls a bit towards the later season, it went 4 seasons too long. The Office is one of those.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec is one of those. The Good Place is one of those shows. Wow, those are all NBC shows.
The Expanse.
The Expanse. Safe to say that Top Gear is at least the Clarkson, May, and Hammond years of Top Gear.
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons, to a certain extent, Futurama will all stand test of time. But like Friends, Friends is it doesn't. Some things don't really stand the test of time of Friends, but like it is a modern classic.
Argue a model classic that stands the test of time even less. Saved by the Bell.
Yes, I didn't like Saved by the Bell when it was out, but I was too young.
Okay.
And upon going back and rewatching it, it doesn't hold up.
See, I did not watch Saved by the Bell when it was coming out because my bus commute was too long.
Saved by the Bell and Fresh Prince do not hold up.
Fresh Prince definitely holds up better than Saved by the Bell.
It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are other shows that...
Fresh Prince is one of those ones where you can just kind of watch a supercut and get everything you really need from it.
Yeah, and there are other shows that are like smash hits that are not going to have the staying power that people are going to watch it over and over and over again. That's kind of the thing, is that in our modern day of streaming, you look at the shows that people watch over and over and over again. Friends is one of those shows.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec is one of those shows. The Office is one of those shows. The Good Place is going to be one of those
Futurama.
shows. Futurama.
It's not just me who watches it.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Futurama, The Simpsons, Scrubs.
We have one friend who's rewatching. Damn it, Miss. I'm blanking the name now. She's coming on Netflix. Her husband wants a divorce in the '60s. The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's not on Netflix. It's on Amazon.
Oh, it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was on the streaming services.
Rewatching Marvelous Miss Maisel is only. I'd hesitate on that one so far.
I have a couple friends who have been rewatching it between the new seasons coming out.
I would say Gilmore Girls is probably actually one of those shows that'll stand up for a while. And then there are certain shows that just kind of like, there's some people that probably rewatch it.
The Bachelor.
The Bachelor. We're immediately excluding all reality television. As much as I love,
No, we aren't.
As much as I love the Great British Baking Show,
There is one technical reality TV show we're not excluding here. Top Gear.
Oh yeah, that's right. Top Gear. Top Gear is not a reality show.
It's a hybrid.
No, it's not. It's a car news program.
The Grand Tour.
The Grand Tour is still a car news program. It is not a reality show.
Where they go into like the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's still a car news program.
Okay.
It still is.
I'll argue hybrid of this.
It is not a reality show because there's not a competition aspect to it. There's not a.
I mean, there's a lot of reality TV that we don't watch that doesn't have a competition aspect.
Like
Kardashians, Osborne.
Yeah, that's true. But those are day in the life shows.
Yeah.
Top Gear is not a day in the life show.
It's sticking people in a weird situation, unscripted, without a competition.
Yeah, like it is. It is a. I would hesitate to call it reality because it's not a reality program. Reality programs are stuff that are day in the life or competitions. Like Top Gear and the Grand Tour are both news shows with specials.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
Okay.
Like they're not following them around in their day-to-day life, or they're not pitting them against, other.
I mean, I would argue where the argument can be made about at least having an element of reality is the fact that when you get into these tours, they are unscripted. There's unexpected things happening there.
Yeah, they're less scripted than fucking the Kardashians are.
Yeah.
That's the thing about reality television is it's not unscripted. None of it's unscripted.
Cops, the original.
Yeah, that's true. Like by your standard, wrestling should be like WWE should be considered a reality show if Top Gear is considered a reality show. I think Top Gear is more closer to a sports show than it is to
Okay.
like that would be my argument.
All right.
But so yeah, that's why we're throwing out reality television like The Bachelor or fucking Love Island or whatever. No one gives a shit.
There's maybe 2 people in the country rewatching seasons of The Bachelor.
No one's rewatching seasons of The Bachelor.
Yeah. The contestants.
The contestants. But
The contestants' parents.
yeah.
This is our last chance for her to have love, and it did not work. She got eliminated on the 3rd episode.
Yeah. But
We bought her 6 cats after that.
yeah. No, she became an Instagram influencer after that. But cause that's the thing is they don't have they might be in the cultural zeitgeist as a slew of shows, but they are not a.
And they don't, for limited rewatchability, they definitely don't have the cultural staying power. And
Here's the thing: is that if they canceled The Bachelor, no one would be going back to watch it.
I got a feeling there are certain shows that we could argue are classics that have a cultural thing that people don't necessarily watch.
Yeah,
Game shows,
absolutely.
The Price is Right.
Yep.
Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah,
No one's watching a whole rewatch, which I think Jeopardy's on either Hulu or I think it's on Hulu.
it's on Netflix.
Or it's on Netflix.
Yeah, Jeopardy's on Netflix.
I'm still not rewatching a whole lot of it as much as I watch it new.
Nope. And that's the thing is that I think that in order to have staying power and not be forgotten, people have to go back and revisit it.
Yeah,
Like, here's the thing: is that if the Bachelor was canceled today and there is no more,
people would mourn for 2 weeks and be done.
people would be upset. Well, they might be upset for a year.
Yeah,
I'd say a year. They would be vocally upset for 2 weeks, and then it would be another, then like 3 months of a couple people yelling online, and then it would disappear for a while, and then it would pop back up again, then disappear for a while, and pop back up again. But here's the thing: is that in 10 years, somebody would be like, "Do you remember that show?" I guess, kinda. And that's about the extent of it.
I think a lot of that reality TV, it doesn't even rewatchability goes beyond it because things like $64,000 Question, a lot of the early game shows do have a cultural influence, and they can be considered classic TV. But people aren't necessarily rewatching them. But there's still,
I would say not anymore.
no.
Nope. I would say in the 90s, yes. Now, no. No one gives a shit. They're done. They're irrelevant. No one cares.
$64,000 Question was 60s.
Yeah, so no one cares.
Yeah.
No, that's why I said in the 90s, people did care about that shit still. Now, they brought back a couple game shows to play the pyramid and all that stuff that they do like specials on whatever channel that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who watches them? Old people. No one young watches them.
I do.
Dude, you're almost 40.
When I visit my old parents.
You're almost 40 too. Like we have to keep things in
but
perspective.
But it's also things like the ones I'm rewatching are like Family Feud.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is
That's
that
about it, I guess.
Yeah, the thing is that if you were to go up to somebody in their 20s today and ask them if they know what the dating game is or any of those that from the 60s,
yeah, most of them won't know.
Most of them won't know. It doesn't matter anymore. It's gone. It's out of the cultural zeitgeist. No one cares. And that's the thing: is it had the staying power of about 30 years. There are certain television shows that will have a longer staying power. Like, people are still watching. People still go back and watch Cheers.
Yeah.
People still go back and watch fucking Frasier. There are people who were born 5 years after Friends ended who love Friends, and they go back and watch every episode.
Thinking back to early filmmaking, there's stuff that people, for lack of a word, they don't necessarily rewatch over and over repeatedly in their life, but they watch it maybe at least once, make sure they're aware of it.
Yeah.
Things like a lot of like Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind, Kurosawa films.
Not Laurel Hardy to an extent, but even more
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin and what's his face? The other
Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're a film person,
Yeah.
you need to be aware of it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And they have staying power.
Mm-hmm.
But here's
Especially when you realize Buster Keaton did all stunts. And
yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is that I can point to modern shows that were smash hits
Mm-hmm.
for most of, if not their entire run, that will not be remembered.
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory will not be remembered. Modern Family will not be remembered.
I mean, even things like Saved by the Bell, that if we come back to that 30-year question,
Yeah.
they might trickle out of society by then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the most I've seen about Saved by the Bell recently is stuff like Zach Morris's trash episodes. And
yeah. And it's all people our age and older making them.
yeah.
And like younger people being like, what?
I think if you sat a lot 20 years down to watch Saved by the Bell or possibly even Full House, they'd just be confused.
Yeah. I mean, Full House, yes and no. Full House has Fuller House now. And so younger people are watching it. And that, that's part of that. I actually think it's detrimental is this whole reboot thing of like let's do Fuller House and like we'll do a sequelized reboot because what it is them trying to bring back and sell the old thing again.
Did you see the original writer of Back to the Future, his comments on rebooting it?
No.
His exact words are, "Don't sell your children into prostitution." I guess you have occasional cultural touchstones where they lose how much they rewatched, but Andy Griffith's show and Leave It to Beaver still become influential, especially in that realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people today who go back and watch like the 60s Batman show because they'll hear a reference to it at one point and be like, what?
Yep.
But that's the thing is like, out of all of the shows that were on television in the 60s, that one had a staying power.
Addams Family. I mean,
I'm going to say no.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know what has a staying power is the Addams Family's 90s movies, not the television show from the 60s.
I mean, I think more than anything, that overall concept of that family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, what has the staying power is the movies. It's not the show.
The Monsters did not hold up quite as well.
No. Well, and the movies are amazing.
Was there? I think there was a Monsters movie in the 90s.
80s.
Was it 80s?
Yeah. When they tried to remake the Munsters a few years ago and they called it Mockingbird Lane and they did like...
Oh, they went dark with it, didn't they?
Well, it was supposed to be a series and then they filmed a pilot and the pilot didn't do well in pilot season, so they released the pilot as like a one-off.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was supposed to be also a lot darker.
It was, and I never watched it.
Yeah.
But like...
In part, what's enjoyable about the Monsters is that it was this lighthearted.
Yeah, it was silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But...
And never really addressed how this family actually...
Well, and you know why...
biologically worked.
Do you know why I knew the Munsters?
Why?
Is because it was on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
And so that became a thing.
Back when Nick at Night did old TV.
Yeah, and so that's why I saw Dick Van Dyke too.
Yeah.
And Mary Tyler Moore. I saw Andy Griffith on sick days.
Yeah.
I got to watch Andy Griffith and the 66 Batman on sick days. It was because it was Price is Right, and then there was like 2 hours of nothing, and then at like 1 o'clock was Batman, and then at 2 o'clock was Andy Griffith.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. It was Price is Right was on from 10 to 11, and then from 11 to 12 I would take a nap, and then 12 I would eat lunch and do something, and then at 1 o'clock I would watch Batman or it was like 2 or 3 or something like that, because my dad would be home in time to watch Batman from work when he was working at the golf course. So maybe Batman was like at 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like that's the reason I know them. The reason I know who Red Skelton is because my dad showed me Red Skelton.
See, I know Red Skelton. I know... Damn, I'm blanking on the band leader name now. But PBS also had a lot of that too.
Yeah. Well,
and I didn't have cable until almost high school. So I watched a lot of PBS growing up.
Yeah. watched a lot of that stuff because my dad would see that it was on, and he would bring me in and show it to me.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of
Under classic shows still running, Sesame Street. Thinking back to PBS.
yes and no.
Yeah.
It's on HBO now.
Is that on HBO now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you have to have HBO, I think, to watch
Okay.
Sesame Street now.
I grew up on the PBS and I knew
It might still have a PBS version, but like its own, like if I remember correctly, Sesame Street is owned by HBO now,
Interesting.
or at least they have the rights to it.
I'm really curious now.
But yeah, there's it's a thing. I mean, there are other like cultural things that I just wasn't a part of but I'm aware of them. Like Arthur. I never watched Arthur, but I know what it is. I never watched Caillou either.
So PBS or Sesame Street
Yeah.
is owned by the lack of a better word, funded by HBO now,
Yes.
and it is on HBO, Amazon Prime, Hulu, and PBS.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
it looks like HBO's funding it, and then basically
Allowing
PBS
to run it.
PBS.
Yeah.
I don't think HBO feels a whole lot of competition from PBS.
Probably not. There were certain parts of it they were talking about bringing over to the HBO Max. They're their new streaming service for their streaming service.
Sorry, when you said HBO Max, my brain went to Cinemax, which went to like, wait, where the hell do you go to That's not right with Sesame Street. They tried that movie a couple years ago and it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. But was it the Happy Time Murders?
Yeah. Great premise. Sounds like
Great premise, poor execution.
Yeah.
But
Well, it sounds like poor script and poor execution. And
yeah, but yeah, it's there's just I'll be interested to see what things do stand the test of time. I can tell you certain things already that will not. Like, I guess Modern Family's still on.
oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Last Man Standing. Ugh. I know it was on because it just got announced that it's going into its last season.
Oh, did Tim Allen talk about how the liberals are canceling his show? Yeah.
The reboot of Roseanne.
Oh, well, the reboot of Roseanne is canceled, but the Connors is still on.
I don't think the Connors is going to have the staying power of the original Roseanne.
No, it won't. And there's like when I found out Modern Family was still on, I was honestly like taken aback. I watched like the first 2 seasons, then I was like, okay, I'm good.
This whole Chicago, blah 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 blah, like NYPD or
The Chicago
PD,
Fire, it's the new NYPD Blue.
I say
type
it's
thing.
not going to have the standing power of, or the cultural power of NYPD Blue or Law and Order or Grey's Anatomy or.
No. Fuck, Grey's Anatomy is still on too for some fucking reason.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Tony was shooting on it last year. I don't fucking know, man.
I don't think CSI will have the staying power of NYP or of Law and Order.
Dude, what's that show called?
NCIS?
NCIS is still on, and it's one of the worst shows ever made.
Yeah.
There's no defending that it's a good show. It's a bad show.
Yeah.
But it's it's sugary candy. It's a nothing. It's nothing. That's what it is. It's nothing.
It was the first one of those series to truly identify what the formula was.
Yeah.
And stick to that and nothing else, and just that over and over and over and
Yeah,
over.
and it's been doing that for.
And it also recognizes the season arc formulas that you're required to do.
Yeah, and it's been doing that for fucking forever.
Versus where like Law and Order, one of the spinoffs, the main character has a mental breakdown and ends up in prison for a little while.
Is that D'Onofrio?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also D'Onofrio.
Yeah, also D'Onofrio.
Man can play anything from a serial killer to a bug and do it well.
Yeah, he's amazing. But
To a bear.
yeah, to a bear. I believe that bear was wearing a people suit. But yeah, I'll be interested to see modern classics and how they stand up over time.
Yep.
That being said, we're out of time for this week.
All right.
Yeah, and I got to go. I'm taking my dad to the XFL game for
You are,
his
aren't
birthday.
you? Is he going to wear more than pants?
Yeah. Nobody. So, quick thing. I have not told him. I think he knows what we're going to do. I bought him a shirt last week at last week's game to wear today. And I know his style. Also, but for the record, XFL gear is all by the 47 Degrees, that company.
Oh, nice.
So it's all really nice.
That's nice.
And it's not super expensive for like team gear.
How much is a football?
So the super nice ones are like $100 some odd bucks.
Yeah.
The ones that you get at the game they're footballs, but they're like commemorative game ones are $60.
Which I guess NFL's kind of like that too.
Yeah.
They have the fancy. This is a game ball game.
Yeah.
And this is rubber.
Yeah. But I also, if I wait and buy things at the stadium, since I'm a season ticket holder, I get 25% off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's real nice.
Yeah. It's really, really nice.
Does that apply to food and drink?
No, it only applies to gear. But he doesn't know what he's doing. So I think he has a suspicion. I think he knows, but he doesn't know officially kind of thing. And so last night they texted asking, my mom texted and goes, your dad wants to know what he should wear tomorrow. My response was pants, preferably.
I suggested just pants.
The thing is, if he would have worn just pants, I have a shirt for him. So it would have been fine.
Yeah.
That totally
Which
would
also
work.
led to weird gifts in our group.
Yes, it did. I told him probably also a jacket.
Yeah.
It's chilly out.
It is. It's been sunny all week.
I don't mind cloud cover coming in. This cough is because it got dry and cold and my lungs seized up and now I have a bronchial infection. It's
Tuesday was Seattle's first day of sunshine. Full day of sunshine, 80 days since November.
It's better than the October to what was it, like March?
Something like that with no
sun. It was
no days with more than half sun.
Yeah. No days. Well, it was no days with no rain in some fashion. Yeah. Which even by this point, I like rain, and even by this point, I was like, I'm done.
Though in the average July, Seattle gets less rain than Arizona,
because Arizona dumps it all at once, and then they flood.
Just overall on July's, or no, it's July, either July or August.
Yeah,
Seattle has to be drier than Arizona that month.
Yeah. That being said, that's it for this week.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Bye, kids.